Sign up to The Economist for in-depth curated expert analysis of world events and topics ranging from business and culture to science and technology. You'll get the weekly digital edition, online-only articles, curated newsletters on politics, the markets, science, culture and China, and full access to The Economist Podcast Plus. The Economist is independent journalism for independent thinking. Go to economist.com and get your first month free.
This program contains subject matter and language that may be disturbing to some viewers. Your discretion is advised.
Savaged Unfiltered. Your host, Michael Gardner.
Today, yes, there was a pause there, and the reason why I did that on purpose, guys. We're going to be talking movies today. We're going to try to stay on movies. I'm going to do my best not to put in political viewpoints, but I have to say, guys, there are two movies that I'm going to be mentioned today that somewhat resemble politics, but this episode is entirely different. So with that being said, guys, welcome to the show. This is Savage Unfiltered. Joining me again, once again here, a good friend of the show, Joseph Leonard, guys. He was on the show yesterday. He's a good friend of the show. And, he started becoming a panelist, a regular here on the show. So we always welcome Joseph back to the show. He's the author of Terror Strikes Coming to a City Near You. Welcome to the show, Joseph. How are you doing? That was a phenomenal show we did yesterday. But we're going to be talking movies.
It's nice to be able to be part of a show, though, yeah, movies have politics in them, but we'll try not to dwell on that. It's nice to be part of something different. And like I teased yesterday when we kind of hinted at this show might occurring, I was kind of Wham Radio here in Ann Arbor's unofficial quasi-movie buff guy. I would always call into Linda Hughes, may she rest in peace, American Dream show at noon on Saturdays, and we discuss movies a lot. So it's fun. I really enjoy movies, and it's nice to be able to have a break to some degree, at least from politics. And being a writer, we're on audio today, not video, so you have to set a mood when you're writing a book. So let me set the mood and tell the audience how into this episode I am. I'm sitting here. I went through my closet and dug up my Beyond the Mask theater captain shirt. I was the theater captain for the Kendricks film Beyond the Mask, which I highly recommend. And it, in part, is inspiration for Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You, my book, because Beyond the Mask is historical fiction. We follow a criminal turned freedom fighter in the revolutionary days of our nation. So it's a great fact fiction blend like my book is. So I highly recommend that movie. And I really wanted to get into the mood of the episode today, so I dug up that shirt.
Yeah, Joseph. Speaking of your book here, folks, which I highly recommend you buy because it touches just about everything, not only our society, but Joseph made a point here. There is a small reference to that, to a movie in your book, and I'm like. I had to remember, I'm like, there's a small reference to a movie in that book. I forgot. But, Joseph was the one, folks, that actually, in the beginning of yesterday's episode, for those who tuned in, he actually made an idea of doing something a little different here for the show. Let's get into a different concept, a different plot for the show and the panel. Let's talk about movies. Now, Joseph, did you want to talk about movies? Because I kind of got into something else differently the day before with Branch Isolé, or have you ever wanted to do an episode on a podcast about movies?
Oh yeah, like I said, being the quote unofficial Wham Radio movie guy since Linda passed a few years back, I still call in and we discuss movies occasionally on a couple of the other shows. But yeah, I miss that time that I was able to spend with her on air discussing movies. So I really love talking about movies. So yeah, I really wanted to be able to do this this episode. And yeah, you mentioned in my book, Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You, there's actually a couple movie references. And the main movie reference is The 13th Floor, which is my favorite film of all time because to me, it's the perfect script. It comes from Roland Emmerich, who people will recognize the movies, the blockbusters, Stargate and Independence Day. And if you like Independence Day, you'll like his film from last year, Moonfall, which is a massive.
By now, a huge problem is heading our way. An emergency meeting is being called at our usual place immediately. 3 bagels. I've made a shocking discovery. I need you to get me in touch with NASA immediately.
Well, NASA and I aren't really on speaking terms these days.
Well, that'll change when you tell them that the moon is out of orbit.
There's no need to panic.
Not crazy!
Why are they lying about all this?
It's too late to stop.
You knew all this was happening before NASA.
You're the unidentified source?
Oh, yes.
We're dealing with an intelligent entity. We're planning a mission to attack this thing. I'm asking you for your help.
Say yes, Brian.
I need you to be brave.
If the moon really is what you think it is, suit up.
You have got a big gravity wave coming your way. You have to launch now.
Did he say gravity wave?
Savaged, unfiltered.
Yeah, you mentioned Roland Emmerich, one of my all-time favorite, directors, and he's a producer as well, too, right, Joseph?
Yes.
Yeah, he's my all-time favorite when it comes to science, sci-fi and action thriller and stuff. Those 3 movies, that 13th Floor, Stargate, and even Independence Day, he actually shot Independence Day 2 as well, too. And those 4 movies literally hit the map on his directing role. Independence Day, I can remember, when the movie came out in the late 90s, they built it up as aliens were actually invading our planet. And I mean, I was like practically in high school then. And, the movie scared the shit out of me. I'm like, oh, my God. But do you remember that, Joseph, where, the media put it into a segment where they were saying, we have a developing story and, we're not sure what's going on, but there's entities coming into this world for the first time in our human existence. There we go. Put the words in my head. There we go. And it scared me. It really did.
Yeah, they used the Orson Welles War of the Worlds radio scare tactic.
Yeah.
They played on that people didn't know it was a radio show when War of the Worlds was first airing live as a radio play. And yeah, people joined it in progress and thought it was actual real news. So that's a historical piece that Roland Emmerich used as a marketing ploy to play off Independence Day. And like I say, if you like Independence Day, you'll love his latest called Moonfall. Has to do with aliens too. It's kind of like an Independence Day trilogy bookend, though it isn't a direct sequel.
Wow. The movie here, guys. Moonfall, Independence Day. It could also be like, maybe an Independence Day 3. Yeah. I see it that way too.
Exactly. And and those are blockbuster films that millions, hundreds of millions of dollars are put into. And, unfortunately, still the leftover COVID paranoias, the Wuhan virus paranoia. Moonfall didn't do as well at the box office as Independence Day and Stargate did. That they expected it would, but I think it will do well on pay-per-views and rentals because, again, yeah, like you said, it's kind of like Independence Day 3, and so it kind of sells itself once people understand, once they hear of the movie and they're fond of the other ones, and they say, oh yeah, well, I definitely. Oh, and I wanted to mention to the listeners, let me interject this before I forget. Maybe you want to pause the show here, get a piece of paper and something to write with, so you can write down all these for later reference when you're streaming. And you got some time to stream. Look up one of these movies, especially movies that we may mention that you haven't seen. Based on the recommendations of movies you have seen that we mentioned and you liked. Therefore, you're likely to like the other one.
Well, yeah, Joseph, you did mention yesterday in yesterday's show, which Joseph actually opened up the show somewhat before we started the topic yesterday, with the deflection from the radical left. A lot of great feedback coming on that show. Thank you very much to the listeners that tuned into that. Joseph actually opened up one of his other favorite movies here with the song Who's That Girl from Madonna. We got that clip here for those who missed that, guys. If anybody missed that clip, we're going to plug it in right here. Mackenzie, thank you. Check this clip out, guys. But guys, joining us here on the panel here once again, our good friend of the show and a good friend off the show here, Joseph M. Leonard, the author of Terror Strikes Coming to a City Near You. Welcome back to the panel, Joseph. How are you doing this afternoon?
Doing good, Michael. Thank you for having me back again. And you mentioned Switzerland, and it brought to mind something odd. And like you said, you didn't talk politics the other day. Maybe one day we can have an episode on movies. But unfortunately, with Hollywood, it would go back to politics too. But you reminded me when you said Switzerland of a movie back in the 80s. I'm not a huge Madonna fan. I mean, she was talented. She had some good music. But she had a movie in the 80s called Who's That Girl? Hilarious film. Oh, if you haven't seen it, you want to throw back. A great, hilarious film. But she plays a young con artist. And she goes into a gift shop, a jewelry store with
now the clip that we plugged in here with Who's That Girl from yesterday's show. Joseph, you said that you weren't a big fan of Madonna, but you're a big fan of that movie, right? She played a con artist, right, in Switzerland.
Well, it wasn't in Switzerland, but since you mentioned Switzerland, your Switzerland audience, there's a line in there about Swiss.
I'm sorry.
Going to school, and it was the Swissest. She uses it as slang for a great place. She's trying to be hip and trendy because she just got out of prison. She doesn't know what's going on. So that we kind of stumbled across that because you mentioned Switzerland, and that brought that to mind. And I think Madonna is a very talented person. Don't get me wrong, and she's got some great music. And not to delve into politics though, but her papa don't preach about pro-life. She would never record today. In fact, probably if asked, would disown that song. But that movie, Who's That Girl is hilarious. She did a great job. I highly recommend that movie. As far as a comedy, it is fantastic.
Yeah, Joseph, I thought it was I have to make a correction. I didn't see the movie. I thought the scene was portrayed in Switzerland. But like I said, we're gonna Mackenzie and I, we're gonna have to watch that movie somehow. I don't know, is it on Hulu or Netflix? We'd have to check it out. I'm not sure.
I've got it lying around here on VHS tape, but
oh yeah, Joseph, we're in the 21st century. No offense. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, there's another movie. You kind of referenced to me off the air that I'd like to get into with America, right? Image, right? Or excuse me, Imagine a World Without Her by Denise.
Yeah,
I know who he is. He's a big time political figure. He's always on social media with different types of political segments that he adds on, whatever platform. But I wasn't aware of that. He directed that.
Oh, Dinesh has got like a dozen documentaries, and unlike Michael Moron, as I call him, who does mockumentaries that are fake, full of garbage, spin. Dinesh D'Souza is an immigrant to this country, and like we discussed the other day, immigrants are some of the greatest Americans because they escape shitholes and they understand America is the shining city on the hill and the last bastion of freedom. If America goes, the world collapses. And he did America, Imagine a World Without Her. I think that is his most important piece he's ever done. And it delves into the what if America weren't here? What if we were still British and French divided?
Savaged, unfiltered.
Hey guys, this show is now on Amazon Music and Audible. That's right. Gonna want to check us out on Amazon Audible and Amazon Music. Great set of platforms. We are so honored and grateful to be part of the Amazon team. And we're honored that they are allowing us to be launched on those two major platforms. So thank you to our new friends here on Amazon Music and Audible.
Important intellectual thought piece. And also I want to throw out Hillary's America, because Hillary might still run again. And Hillary's America is not only about Hillary, but about the fascists in the Democrat Party. So those are the top two to see of Dinesh D'Souza's documentary.
Yeah, I watched bits and pieces of it a little bit actually, and it kind of reminds me of that crap that they're airing out now, which I don't know if anybody's seen the latest Hunter movie, Hunter Biden movie. That's actually out now. I heard it's doing pretty well at the box office. Have you seen that yet, Joseph?
No, I've not seen it, and I'm going to wait until I can see it streamed free. I'm not going to pay for it, but it's certainly something important for independents who don't pay enough attention to the news and the whole Hunter Biden laptop cover-up, that they see it. But since we're kind of on politics and Dinesh's America, Imagine a World Without Her, another one of my favorite films. It's a classic. It's also a comedy, but with very important political undertones from Zemeckis, the guy who brought us the Airplane films. And
with Leslie Nielsen, right?
Yes, this film also has Leslie Nielsen, Robert Davi, Kelsey Grammer, a whole bunch of American patriots, Trace Adkins. It's called An American Carol, based on a twist of A Christmas Carol. An American Carol is about a Michael Moron type hate America mockumentary maker who hates America, hates the 4th of July, wants to abolish the 4th of July. And 3 ghosts, including the ghost of George Washington, visit upon him to show him the errors of his ways. It is an American Carol. I watch it every 4th of July. Just like 9/11, I watch certain documentaries to take myself back to that time. I watch an American Carol every 4th of July. It's a must-see movie for patriots. And it involves terrorism too. So there's kind of a throwback to Terror Strikes Coming to a City Near You in that movie too.
Yeah, Joseph, I wasn't aware of that movie that Leslie Nielsen was in. I mean, obviously we know who Leslie Nielsen is, folks. He's known for his many movies of Naked Gun, right? With Priscilla Presley's in it, and a few others. But I wasn't aware of. And then you mentioned Airplane, which is one of my all-time favorites. With
all of those, the entire. Is it a trilogy or is there 4 of them? But all of those are fantastic.
Which one? The Naked Gun, right?
All the airplanes and all the Naked Guns. They are hilarious.
Well, Naked Gun.
That's my kind of humor, the kind of off tongue-in-cheek puns, the "don't call me Shirley" jokes. I love it.
You're about to say that. Hold on, Joseph. Joseph's fired up, guys. But the Naked Gun. For those who are not aware of Naked Gun, that was like almost like a spin-off of you could say almost like a parody of Lethal Weapon. Remember the Weapon movies? Yeah.
And the old black and white Dragnet series. And people, if you don't know, because Naked Gun series is old now, it had O.J. Simpson in the movie too.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, O.J. Simpson was in that movie, which I don't think he'll ever do another movie, since we're on O.J. Simpson. But I mean, this is obviously before the whole, O.J. thing and Nicole Simpson and stuff like that. But yeah, a lot of people are like, OJ was in a movie. Of course he was. He was in a lot of Naked Gun movies with Leslie Nielsen. I mean, that was his his partner in the movie. He was a cop, and there was a lot of great movies, over the years. Joseph, I want to get into some of my movies if you don't mind. Now, yesterday, folks, I did mention in yesterday's show, if you guys tuned into that, I did mention one of my favorite movies, was Air Force One with Harrison Ford. Okay, now, folks, this movie, I got to say, the reason why I like it, it's filled with suspense, action, thriller. It's intended to pretty much, wonder what the hell is going to happen. You got Harrison Ford playing the President of the United States. A lot of great actors and actresses were in it. And just to give you a short little plot of the movie, Harrison Ford is on Air Force One, and they're traveling, through the air, obviously, and later in the film, the president finds out that the actual camera crew are basically Russian Middle East terrorists. And he literally has to save his administration, which he tries so hard. There's a few parts of the administration in the cabinet that actually dies in the movie. And it's sad, but Harrison Ford literally becomes the muscle man, so to speak, Joseph, of his administration, of his cabinet. And if you watch the entire movie, these Russian terrorists are like, who the hell is killing all these people? Who the hell is this man? And they would never think the thought it was the actual president, because if you look at the movie, the president was shown escaping in the pod, right? and
Yeah.
he was down in the bunker in the storage part of the Air Force One part of the plane the whole time. I love this movie. I know you've watched this movie too. What's your favorite part?
I've seen that movie many times. That is a great movie. It's one of Harrison Ford's best, and it takes a great talent to write a script in a confined space like that. You have an action movie taking place on a plane that seems inconceivable, but yet they pull it off. Just like M. Night Shyamalan has one that takes place in an elevator. It's like, oh my God, how many camera angles and how great does the acting have to be for something that takes place in such a confined space like Air Force One takes place on the presidential plane.
Tonight I come to you with a pledge to change America's policy. Atrocity and terror are not political weapons, and to those who would use them, your day is over.
In a speech tonight in Moscow, the president issued a direct challenge to terrorist nations around the world.
But the question remains, what are the risks involved in such a bold policy initiative?
They hated your speech, didn't they?
We're afraid we won't have the guts to back it up.
Air Force One clear for takeoff. Thank you for your hospitality, Moscow.
Air Force One with emergency call. Where's my family?
The president's plane, Air Force One, has been hijacked.
What do they want?
They want General Radek released from prison.
I will execute the hostage every half an hour.
What are our airborne scenarios? There are no airborne scenarios.
One thing, Joseph, like we got to go back to when this film was shot, folks. This was shot like in towards the mid to the late 90s. Where CGI was literally just taking its route, so to speak, in the Hollywood industry. This film literally won special effect awards. It won special screenplay awards, Emmys, Grammys, everything. Harrison Ford, literally, a lot of people are like, this movie pretty much put Harrison Ford on the map when it came to Hollywood. Yes and no. The yes part for action and suspense and a little bit of drama, yes. But I want to go back to his original movies with the Indiana Jones, right? Those were the movies that put Harrison Ford on the map, I think, in his respected platform of the Hollywood industry.
And there's a Michigan connection, since I'm from Michigan, in the Air Force One film. I don't remember if they specifically state he was elected as a person from Michigan to be president, like Gerald R. Ford never was elected but was elevated. But Gerald R. Ford was from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and became president. In the movie, he's watching a University of Michigan college football game while on Air Force One. So there's that connection. But you mentioned Indiana Jones, and I want to throw back to Beyond the Mask, because that stars John Rhys Davies, who people will remember most from The Lord of the Rings, but he was also in Indiana Jones with Harrison Ford. So I kind of have a throwback connection. Our films are kind of crossing over here.
Yeah. Hey, it's okay. We all have different interests, right, Joseph? I mean, but tremendous movie. Do you see possibly them making another Air Force One movie, or is it way too late?
Yeah, I think it's way too late now, and the specter of with the modern threat of terrorism, which obviously I deal with in Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You. I think the subject would just be too touchy to delve on, and I don't know what much different they could do with the film, to make it worthwhile to try to sell people a new version of it, a reboot of it, than although reboots are successful these days. I mean, they might be able to do a remake with almost the same script and get away with it.
Well, look what happened. You said it may be too touching. Look, if everybody paid attention to a similar movie, what the hell was it? It was with Clive Owen, actually, which I'm going to bring up. I just gave a quick little spoiler here on my own show. I've been doing that lately. I'm sorry, folks. It's just I don't mean to do it. It just comes to me. But
hey, you got to tease the audience to keep them tuned in.
Yeah, you're right, Joseph. You're right. We should make you editor or producer here. Mackenzie, you're supposed to be like putting the buzzer on me. What the hell's going on, huh? You're failing. But Joseph, did you see that latest movie with Clive Owen? You said it would be a touching type of sentiment or part to add in another part, maybe possibly Air Force One too. But they did something similar with Clive Owen as he was a Secret Service agent, and they made two movies. It was the Olympus Has Fallen, and then they made another one with London Has Fallen. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, and those might even be Roland Emmerich films. I'm not sure. I don't hold me to that. But yeah, Olympus, Gerard Butler is in those also, right? Olympus Has Fallen and London Has Fallen. Yes. Again, those are Emmerich style over the top things. Yeah, and those deal with the touchy subject of terrorism.
Yeah, they came out right around I think the first one came out like right in the middle of Obama's term. And then the second one came out after Obama was leaving office, and that was in very touching times. So I don't think it would be a touching. I think it would be tremendous, perfect timing for Air Force 1-2 to come out, especially in transitioning phases of our American politics, the system we have here in the country. So I mean, I just wanted to touch on that. The next one I want to get into The Fifth Element, guys. It's one of my all-time favorites. I can watch it's one of those movies, Joseph, where you can watch this movie like over and over and over. Now, The Fifth Element, guys, with Bruce Willis and Chris Tucker. A lot of people don't remember. Yeah, Chris Tucker was in that movie. He played some kind of what was that role, Joseph? Almost like a drag queen, right?
Yeah, he was kind of a TikTok celebrity of the day before TikTok. He was a social media celebrity before there was such a thing.
Yeah, he was running around with other kind of drag type of people. That big guy, I forgot his name, that was behind him. He was like kind of muscular. He was in a lot of movies. Oh shit, I forgot his name. But yeah, he played that. He played that type of role where he was almost like a he had the persona of like a Lady Gaga almost in a way. And it was weird for Chris Tucker to play that role. Yeah.
Yeah, he was there as part comedic foil, and his role was again as a celebrity on board this floating cruise ship, this cruise spaceship, reporting to the masses live snippets from the voyage.
Yeah. Yeah, they took that from that. They stole that concept, and I seen that right away. I'm like, damn it, they stole the concept, but hey, it worked for them, But guys, this film here, a lot of people don't realize this, Joseph, was a French science fiction film. Okay, I didn't know that until like just recently. Somebody told me it was a French science fiction. Like what? Like, and then I had to read the history about this. Literally, there was a original movie set back in like the 60s, early 70s, similar to The Fifth Element, but they had a different name. It was all in French. I couldn't even tell you because I don't speak French, obviously. But it was a similar plot. It was a similar story. It was taking place in the future, where this broken down French cab driver won a ticket, like if he was going to like Disneyland or something, to some type of fantasy island. But instead of going to a fantasy island, he was going to another planet on a luxurious spacecraft, and that's how it took place. Now, this film, it won special effects and visual effects. Now, that was hard to do. Again, another movie, Joseph, taking place in the mid to late 90s, getting all these awards.
Yeah, and I think, again, now this is something else to don't hold me to, but I'm pretty sure this was based on a writing by Philip K. Dick, one of my favorite sci-fi writers of all time. He wrote a lot of novels and a lot of short stories like Minority Report that became movies, and The Adjustment Bureau, which is about shadowy men in black who wear, hats. A great writer who produced a lot of great stuff that turned into great movies like The Fifth Element. That is one of my favorites too. Minority Report, The Adjustment Bureau, and I think he may have even been the writer of Blade Runner. I'm not 100% sure. I didn't look that up prior to the show. Even though I knew you were bringing up The Fifth Element, it didn't dawn on me to look up and confirm Philip K. Dick as the author of the original author that those were based on. That was based on or not.
Yeah, well, the movie was directed by Luke Benson, tremendous author, writer and director. He wrote the movie and also directed the movie. Not a lot of movies were directed by Luke Benson. A lot of people don't recognize his work. Again, he was another director that kind of had a lot of great movies in the start of his career, but kind of went south a little bit towards the early to mid 2000s. I think he came out with something in 2004, but it really didn't go mainstream, Joseph. It was kind of like a what do you call those movies today? A lot of directors are doing it today, especially in today's times where everything has become more digitalized and more of a streaming type of scenario where they don't go to the big screen, they don't go to mainstream and stuff like that. It goes right to an app, whether it's Hulu, Netflix, or HBO or Amazon Prime. A lot of movies you see that go into that panel because it's cheaper, especially in today's times. With the inflation and budgeting and everything, it's affecting Hollywood. So yeah.
Well, you mentioned the changing of the times. I didn't write these down or mention them before, but you brought to mind a couple. A movie with Susan Dey from the 70s, because where you mentioned CGI. Nowadays, they can literally insert whole casts of characters like they did for the movie 300 with Gerard Butler also. But the movie with Susan Dey was called Looker, and it was about digitally replacing actors and actresses in film. And then there's also the other one with the hoo-ah guy. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but Simone is spelled S1M0NE, 1 and 0 as in digital. Simone, about a purely digital actress, because the director is tired of working with these prissy, high maintenance actors and actresses. So a guy gives him Simone, which is a digital actress, and he makes movies inserting this digital actress and all these people pretending they've known Simone and they've met Simone, all the Hollywood fakeness. Great movie, and it's the future. In the future, you will see Elvis or Tupac or whomever in a movie digitally created.
Yeah. I've seen production studios and stuff like that go to the editing CGI. We've seen it come out just quite recently. If anybody paid attention to the new Ghostbusters movie, right?
Yeah.
Where they actually added the character that's no longer here. He passed away.
Harold Ramis, Harold Ramis.
Yes.
Really added again. Spoiler alert! But Ghostbusters Aftermath is a great partial reboot, partial remake, partial true sequel. Kind of like. Where it ties the whole thing together, the whole story together.
I'm glad you added in that reboot, because I'm glad that they decided to do that reboot for Ghostbusters, because when they came out with, and this is my personal opinion, folks, I may have some haters that don't want to agree with me on this, but that's okay.
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, when they did that female version of Ghostbusters, I think they ruined the freaking franchise, if you ask me.
Yeah, thankfully, Aftermath brings back the glory of the franchise, but yes.
It does, because the women, and don't get me wrong, there were some, cameos, from the first two Ghostbuster movies, right? They put some cameos in. But, they destroyed the franchise, I think. And I'm like, oh, no. After 20-something years, you're going to come out with another story plot for this movie, a female version of Ghostbusters? Like, what are you going to say? They're the nieces of – that's what they did, Joseph. They didn't say it, but they pretty much gave – like, if you paid attention to the characters.
Hey, guys, what's going on? Michael Gardner here from Savage Unfiltered. Guys, I just want to make a quick reminder, guys. First and foremost, I want to thank the listeners worldwide for tuning in to this past week's episodes. We had with Branch Isolé earlier this week. Tremendous feedback off that show. Thank you. The show is climbing in views and downloads, so thank you to my audience in obviously the United States. Thank you very much here at home. Thank you to my Ireland audience. Very well, most appreciate to the Ireland crowd out there. Thank you to Switzerland and our friends up north in Canada. Thank you very much for tuning into that episode. Well, and just the words can't explain it, guys. I also want to say thank you to the listeners that tuned in yesterday with my friend Joseph M. Leonard, the author of Terror Strikes Coming to a City Near You. Getting really good views for that episode. I want to thank you guys for tuning into that, and the views are still climbing as we speak. Guys, I do want to remind the folks that we are doing an episode shortly here. The recording will be starting in about 10-15 minutes with our good friend Joseph. We're going to be touching on movies, past, present, and
females in those movies justice by putting them into situations.
Well, the Ghostbusters movie, the female version, it was a fucking joke. I mean, it tanked at the box office. Even people that the people that worked for the production, it was the same production company as the first two Ghostbuster movies. They even said, like, what a fucking mistake we made. Like, they wasted so much money in making this film, right? The film, like, literally it didn't do what they expected it would do, because they were like, oh, let's make a female version of it, and everything else. Thank God, what was it, like maybe 8-10 years later, just shortly, right? I think it was like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
They came out with Ghostbusters Afterlife. It's been a year and a half already, folks. Yeah. Thank God they did this and they saved the franchise, because, Joseph, I grew up off of Ghostbusters. I had Ghostbuster lunchboxes, Ghostbusters breakfast cereal. I had the lunchbox. I had the comforter set. I mean, literally pajamas. I grew up off of that shit. And then to do this, it's like a slap in the face, whoever, grew up off of that type of, stuff,
Yeah. Now, a woke female empowerment version that worked was the Charlie's Angels franchise, where Charlie all of a sudden had to also be female too. That was wokeism, but the Charlie's Angels films were good.
Yeah, they were. They were good. They Drew Barrymore. She had some good roles, in those series of movies. Speaking of Drew Barrymore, dude, phenomenal. She seems to do very well when she works with comedian Adam Sandler.
If you didn't mention it, I was going to. A leading singer, fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the chemistry behind them. They work so well, and I think that's what makes a great movie is chemistry. You have to make it look like these two people have known each other for years. That's the type of language behind a movie. That's the type of magic that you're creating for your audience, the viewers that are going to be watching it for years and years to come. They want to say when they look at a movie. Even the producers behind it, the directors, the writers, the executives, right? They want to look at a movie like this movie is going to be talked about for the next 50 to 100 years from now, and I think that's what sets a movie. Now, sure, there have been movies like what the fuck did they come up with? Like what the hell were they smoking? Like some of these stupid movies. Like I want to get into some really stupid movies before I go into my third all-time favorite here. Some stupid movies, Joseph, like Rick Moranis, right, with the plant, right, the angry plant, Little Shop of Horrors. That was
based on the play. The play did so well, they thought the movie would sell, and although it has a cult following, Little Shop of Horrors has a cult. A weird film noir cult following, as does the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So there's that. I agree with you. It was really a bad movie.
They tried mimicking off of Rocky Horror Picture Show. There was some mimicking in there. And you know what they tried to do, Joseph? They tried to take a Broadway play, because it all started off as a Broadway play, right? They tried to take a Broadway play and turn it into a movie. Just like they did with Rocky Horror Picture Show. They try to take, and that's what ruins movies. You take a Broadway show and you try to turn it into a movie. It doesn't work. It has a different type of analogy, into it. A different type of story play. Trust me, folks. Here's a note to producers here. Maybe I'll get a producer or a writer or a director that listens to this one episode. Here's a word of advice, okay, as a podcast host, okay? And you're probably going to say, what the hell does he know? He does podcasting. How the hell does he know?
You're also a consumer of movies. Yeah,
exactly. But let me say it as a podcast host, because not only as I am a podcast host, I help Mackenzie here on the show. We do the editing as a team, okay? As an editor, as a host, as a producer, as this and that, please, if it works for Broadway, keep it for Broadway. Do not ruin the franchise of that type of play and try to bring it into movie play. It doesn't work. It's two different types of ball games. They ruined Little Shop of Horrors. They ruined Rocky Horror Picture Show. What else did they come out with? They came out with some stupid movies along the way. They did the Little Rascals, right? Where that actually started off as a TV show. Then it went into a small little Broadway play back in the 40s up in New York City. And then along the years, they did like these little movies and stuff. Another franchise ruined. But I tell you.
They hang their hat on the success of The Odd Couple, which was a play turned TV series, and did go on to be a successful movie. But again, there are exceptions to every rule, but I would agree with you as a rule, trying to move something from Broadway to the screen doesn't translate very well.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I want to dig into this last movie here, Joseph, with this. Now, this movie, folks, I'm going to get into sometimes with books, okay? Because sometimes now you're going to be like, "Oh, Mike is becoming a hypocrite now because he just said that if you take a Broadway play and you turn it into a movie, you can ruin the Broadway play and also ruin the movie." Yes, I agree with that concept. But here's my concept on books. Sometimes when you take the book and you turn it into a movie, it does wonders for the franchise. We've seen it so many different times. Independence Day, Joseph mentioned earlier in the show, tremendous book, tremendous movie. Okay. Jurassic Park, another one. We didn't mention that, but Jurassic Park, a phenomenal book, phenomenal movie. They're coming out with series of it's been rebranded now, Jurassic Park, where it's now Jurassic World. I think it's doing wonders for the franchise. Continue.
I disagree on that one. I think the last Jurassic film was disappointing, and maybe I was disappointed because I expected too much. Because again, like with the Scream movie and the Ghostbusters Aftermath, they retooled, partially rebooted, but kept ties to the originals. And they brought all the characters together in the last Jurassic. And I just didn't think it worked as well. It was basically just a remake of the original film with all the characters back. So I was kind of disappointed on that one. But
yeah, well, Joseph, here's the difference here. This is my personal opinion, folks. I think the difference between rebranding and rebooting is two different things. Rebooting is good on some levels. Just don't tweak it too much. Keep the original story plot, but just possibly if you want to add some extra additional characters that you haven't seen in the first couple of parts, right? Go ahead. We've seen it. They've done it tremendously with the first couple installments of Back to the Future, right? We've seen some characters where they went to the 50s and they went to the Wild West and they went to the future 2015. That worked great. Don't tweak it out too much with the reboots and stuff like that. You can add different characters. Now the rebranding, right, with this Jurassic Park, right? That works, Joseph, I think. And the reason why it works is because we understand what happened in the first couple of Jurassic Park movies, right? John Hammond, the founder of Jurassic Park, right? The pretty much the god of recreating dinosaurs. We understand what his intentions were. He kind of went to his head too much, and look what happened. The damn dinosaurs terrified people, and they ate people, and they fucking ate the guy that was shitting on the toilet in the T-Rex. We understand things happen. Okay. Jurassic Park worked for the first couple. Okay. Case closed. End that and then rebrand it. We want to see more of it. Okay. What the rebranding part here, Joseph, and I'll be quick because I want to get into this next movie here. The rebranding part works, and I can tell you why it works. Okay. We see what happened with Jurassic Park. Okay. It was a science experiment gone wrong. They thought that by bringing back millions upon millions of dinosaurs that have been extinct for millions of years, okay, they thought by bringing them back they can control them. Well, first of all, you can't control an animal that you really don't know nothing about because we weren't really around when the dinosaurs roamed the earth. So we understand that they let science get to their head. So close that franchise. We understand. Basically, the author and director of that movie understood it. They really couldn't go anywhere with Jurassic Park. It ended pretty much right at like the second, third part of the series. So that's why they came out with Jurassic World. They had to rebrand it to continue the story. The reason why they had to rebrand it is because those films did tremendous at the box office, dominating the box office. Hundreds of millions of dollars were made with those films. So I just had to put a quick little rebuttal against your statement there.
Savaged.
Yeah, well, I can understand that, and yeah, the temptation, of course, is to, if something worked once, see if it works again. You know,
Yeah.
like if you're gonna make $1 billion off one, then you know there's usually diminishing returns over time, but they remain successful, and it's like Planet of the Apes. The original one did so well off of the Brule book. I can't remember his first name. My ex-wife bought me an original copy of the Planet of the Apes book. I have it around here somewhere. But then, as you do more, and like with the Jurassic, there's more and more done in the computer lab. You can cut costs with each film. You know, so even if you make less at the box office, you're still profiting as equally with those franchises, which is again like Indiana Jones we mentioned, why they made so many of those.
Yeah, and I think that's what that's what the editing team is starting to find out now, especially 21st century of the Hollywood industry, where they really don't have to edit a lot like they used to in the early to mid 90s. You know, yes, folks, there was CGI in the mid to early 90s of Hollywood films, but they were editing. They were spending so much freaking money with the CGI editing. Now they can just shoot a movie, right? Like they've always done, shoot a regular movie in its regular format. And then you can basically, like Joseph said, go right into the computer system and put all the CGI editing in. We do it here on the show. A lot of people, when we were doing video production, which we're going to go back to, I'm going to bring that segment in sometime in the show before we close it out here. When we were doing video production here on the show, it was so easy to add in the CGI, the overlays, the special effects, the sound effects into it. We do now. We're going back to the original format with audio. So we're adding, after the recording here with Joseph and I, we add Mackenzie and I. We add a tremendous amount of editing with audio. We take out segments that don't work. We flip flop them. Sometimes there's little glitches of audio glitches. Hey, it's connection issues. Sometimes we have to cut like a second or 2 seconds out and then kind of redo it again. So yes, there's editing involved, even in audio. And I think that's what's great about it, especially today's times, where you can do a whole segment, Joseph, and then just cut it right out,
Yep. And an odd film I want to throw in case if we don't have time later is most people today weren't around during the silent film era. And, as an art, the Buster Keaton movies that had to be all visual because it would, they added music, but there was no talking. So I highly recommend a modern film called The Artist, but it's about a silent star trying to remain relevant in the talkies age. And it gives you a great sense of historical perspective.
Savaged, unfiltered.
Historical fiction. I'm big on combining history and reality, or faction, as I call it, in Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you. But The Artist starts off silent with subtitles and music in black and white, and then progresses to color and sound. Fantastic. To give you a sense of what life was like then versus now. If you're a film buff who really likes the ins and outs and the art of movie making, you must see The Artist.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's a tremendous film here. I want to get into this film here. I kind of sidetracked a little bit here with the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies. Joseph got me on a topic here of the show here. I normally don't touch anything with music, movies, or anything like that. But I'm always open to try different topics to keep the audience engaged. I want to get into my third film here, my third all-time film. Okay, it was a book from based on the 1992 novel by P.D. James. Wrote a lot of great novels, P.D. James. I'm a big fan of his work. Now, the original story was written in 1992, but this movie here, Children of Men, came out in 2006. Now, they waited a long time, a little shy of 20 years, actually, believe it or not. Little less, my math is correct. A little less than 15 years, to create a movie of this. Okay, and I told you my passion about books. Usually when a book becomes a movie, it does wonders for the franchise or the actual title of the book. Now, Children of Men, it's a sci-fi film directed by Alfonso Cuarón, a tremendous director. I'm a big fan of his work. Now, this film, guys, he won a lot of awards. Best in CGI effects, tremendous CGI effects, a lot of like warfare type of scenarios. And he won an award for screenplay. Awesome screenplay done by the main actor of the movie, Clive Owen, which I'm a big fan of Clive Owen. I like his work. I like his demeanor, and I like everything about this actor. Now, this movie, folks, if you're not well aware of it, Joseph's aware of it. He's told me it's one of his favorites too. It's based in a world in the future where kind of similar to what we're kind of going right now in politics. If we don't, pay attention and we're not careful of how we vote in the correct leadership here. It's based in a futuristic world, where we're not allowed to have any children. Okay, and if you're caught having children, the children become pretty much a political prisoner. Okay, and they're sent into basic prison, and you're taken away from those children. Now, I see this movie, and it starts off, Joseph, right, where at the beginning of the movie, the woman is coming out of like a coffee shop somewhere in London. And she gets her fucking arm like blown right off. Oof. Yeah,
well, shocking openers are meant to grab people's attention. And my Storm chapter, my first chapter, is also meant to be a shocker and a grabber and to lure you in. And if there's any producers or directors out there, Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You is available for screen adaptation.
Yeah. And, one of the reasons why I like Children of Men, and I saved it for the last segment here of the show, is like I said, it basically it's a movie to represent what could happen to the future. Now,
I think in part that book was inspired, since we're kind of back to politics, the China one-child policy, and that author then took it to the next extreme.
Yeah, because at the end of the movie, fast forward, she's racing through this corrupted, because the main movie is basically shot in England. Some of it's shot the European continent, but a lot of it's shot in England, where England is basically a radicalized country, right? And they're joined by literally a world order. Literally, folks, the presidents are all joined by one. We're not in war with one another anymore. We're basically a one world system where every president is basically kind of, and this is going to kind of sound strange, but morphed into as one person, and all the governments work for one another. And this woman is like racing through the entire movie with Clive Owen. She had a baby. You know, every government in the world doesn't know about it. She's trying to keep it a secret. And she's using this as to try to go to the other end of the world to try to get her word out, saying that, you know what, I did it. You can too. Let's fight back and bring back our original formula of, you know, of law, you know. And it's a tremendous movie, and it's one of those movies that you can watch over and over and over.
Yeah, Children of Men is kind of an Orwellian type. 1984 Animal Farm, Atlas Shrugged, bucking the system. Sooner or later, things get too dystopian and go too far, and people needing to fight back. And again, like I say, and good writers do this. Good creative people do this. They take something like I think Orwell took out of his time to pen 1984 and Animal Farm, projecting ahead events of the time to the extreme they could go to, and him projecting the extreme of the China one-child policy to the extreme to make Children of Men what it was.
Yeah, it's a tremendous movie. I'd really be happy if they added a Children of Men Part 2 in the making, because at the end they give you that little teaser that, you know, they could be setting up for a Children of Men 2. And it's been almost what, going on 22 years, right, since the first one. So yeah.
Yeah, they always, and that's the thing with the book to film, is a book usually covers a lot more, and a movie, that's why people love to, if they haven't read the book, will go back and read a book that they've seen a movie they've liked, to see what all else is in the book, because often they can't squeeze everything from a book, or especially if it's a series of books, into one 90-minute film. So you could take just certain aspects of the book and expound upon them in the film adaptation. And, so that's why books are such a fertile ground for movies, because they don't have to make the whole book. There can just be part of a book they really like and turn that into an expansion of just that sub-theme from the book.
Oh yeah. It's a tremendous inspiration. They take these and they just bring them into play. Guys, we're about to close it off here, but I got to make a quick announcement here. I kind of gave you that announcement just briefly into the show. We do plan on going back to video podcasting. I'm getting a lot of comments. I even got a comment off the show here from Joseph. When are we going to go back to video podcasting? Well, Joseph and the fans and the viewers out here of the show, we will be going back. I want to make a huge announcement. Was going to save it for Sunday, but I don't want anybody waiting, because I don't like waiting. It's just me. We're going to be going back to video podcasting right after the new year. The reason for that is due to the pandemic and budget cutting and everything else. We've had to do some budget cutting here on the show. Everything is just it's costly. I'm gonna admit that on the show. With our good friends of Restream. I love you, Restream. It's nothing against you, just taking a break from you. That's all. But we're going back after the new year. Mackenzie and I are working on a very, very special backdrop for the show. Wait till you see this, guys. We got like maybe 30% done, right? 30% done. We have one backdrop done. We're going to do a couple more better than the original formula of just one backdrop that we had. We're going to have about 3 backdrops. We have one. We have to do 2 more, and we're going to add some special lighting in. We wanted to add special lighting in the first merry-go-round when we were doing video podcasting, but we just thought it wasn't right at that time. So we're going to do some special lighting. We're going to do some more special effects. But right after the new year, we'll be back to video podcasting. So you're going to want to check that out right after the new year.
I'm glad because we're in a visual age now. I mean, again, people are with TikTok and everything. People are really into visual, and it adds a whole other aspect to your show that way. It gives a horror genre element with mine and your ugly mugs. People get to see it.
Yeah, and I think Joseph has a point because for the folks that have been following me on TikTok, I want to thank TikTok. Actually, I never thought we'd be approaching. We're almost approaching 2,000 followers. So I want to thank TikTok, and we've done that, folks, in less than 2 months. 2 months we signed up for TikTok, and we're at like 1,798 followers. So thank you very much for the people for following us. Thank you for taking your time and your busy schedule wherever you may live in the United States and also the world. I've noticed some following coming in from UK and all over the world. So thank you very much. We put out amazing content on TikTok, amazing graphics, amazing sound effects, everything. So I think that's what's opening us up back over to video, Joseph, is the TikTok because we'll notice that.
TikTok is one of the few social media platforms I'm not on. I signed up for Instagram ages ago, never really used it, but since the book came out, I've started using it. And so, I'm building a bit of a following on Instagram there too now, like you're doing with TikTok to help promote your show. I use Instagram and the other social medias to promote my book. And since you gave breaking news, I will give an exclusive to Savage Unfiltered audience. I used to write for Red State, redstate.com. I am now joining the Liberty Beacon team, which is kind of like Red State. It's a conservative patriots authors. So starting Sunday, September the 11th, my first piece about originalist Federalists will be up at the libertybeacon.com, as I'm happy and proud to announce exclusively. First time hearing it is the Savage Unfiltered audience. I'm joining the libertybeacon.com. Wow,
that's tremendous. A round of applause. I mean, wow, that's a success right there, Joseph. You're moving up in the world. That's awesome, guys. You heard it from the author and writer of Terror Strikes Coming to a City Near You, Joseph M. Leonard. He's not only does he have a tremendous book out, but he's creating an exceptional platform for his book and for his content and material. So that's good stuff, Joseph. I'm glad that you made that announcement on the podcast today, and and the world here listening. So I mean that's great. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. And before we close it off, I did have a couple on my list. I'll just rapid fire them out there in closing that we didn't get to. Capricorn 1, a great 70s film based on the moon landing hoax theory, but takes place on Mars. Capricorn 1, great sci-fi film. Failsafe with Henry Fonda, the classic nuclear standoff movie, fantastic. Millennium, another great sci-fi movie. We've talked a lot about sci-fi today. Starring Chris Christopherson and Cheryl Ladd. Expelled, No Intelligence Allowed, another great documentary film. That's from Ben Stein. Most people will recognize that. A hilarious movie with my weird brand of humor. Ben Stiller's Zoolander film. Love that film.
Yeah.
The Terminator series. Loved every film. And I know they like to give Emilia Clarke a hard time. I thought she did a fantastic job in the Terminator films she was in. A couple Christian films, my two favorite Christian-made films, aside from Beyond the Mask, which is the Kendricks Christian Studios, is Risen, which is about the persecution of Christ through the eyes of the Roman soldier. Fantastic, unique perspective, Risen, must see, and a great comedy called The Resurrection of Gavin Stone. It's not your traditional Christian book like a film. Like my book is a Christian book, but obviously it's about terrorism. It's not your normal fluffy kind of Christian book. Neither is The Resurrection of Gavin Stone. It's meant to present Christianity seriously, but through some humor. It's great.
Yeah.
A criminal out on parole has to do community service. He does it at a church. So he plays Christ in the church play, and it is fun. It is hilarious. And an odd aside, Blumhouse Studios was involved with the Christian studios. You'll recognize Blumhouse. They did The Purge and the weird Fantasy Island remake. They do a lot of weird, dark films, but they wanted a lighthearted film, so they teamed up with a Christian studio to help bring The Resurrection of Gavin Stone. Highly recommend that film.
Great stuff, Joseph. And I'm going to close this out here with some announcements here as we close it out here, guys. Join us tomorrow. Soslin, my co-host here on the show, will be joining us back on the show. We got some major announcements coming from him. He's been a busy man this week. We've said it yesterday. He's been doing some conferences and some hearings between back and forth from Chicago to DC up to Boston, all over the place. So Sas is going to be back from a busy week. Guys, so tomorrow on the show, we're going to be doing an episode featuring the life and death of the late Queen Elizabeth II. You're going to want to tune into that show. Just literally came up with that topic this morning before we brought Joseph on the air and on the panel here on Anchor FM. So you're going to want to tune out to that, guys, tomorrow afternoon. That show should be launched by 7 p.m., hopefully, right? Hopefully. We can only hope. Sorry about the late launching last night for yesterday's launching here with Joseph and I. There was a lot of podcast episodes and shows that had to be launched, we heard from Anchor FM. So we try to get it out there. It's just depending on the timing. You know, there's always new shows coming on. There's thousands of them now. And then Sunday, guys, we have the first show with the Therapy Twins, Joan and Jane. They'll be joining us. That should be a rather interesting conversation. And then we're going to be doing a special show honoring the 21st anniversary of 9/11 with myself, Joseph here, Jimmy Durant, and Soslin Timison. All four of us will be on that panel. It should be a very, very special show. Also, too, guys, we were supposed to have a show with an author, Jen Parker. Sadly, she had canceled. Okay. I did make an announcement yesterday on the show in the recording, but we cut that. If you guys noticed that, I'm sure Joseph noticed that. Well, I can't say you guys noticed it because you guys weren't part of the recording, but I'm sure Joseph noticed that as he was listening to the show. We cut that out of the original recording yesterday because that came to me literally in the middle of the conversation I had with Joseph while we were recording. Mackenzie was kind of just writing down the notation as we were getting the email in from Ms. Jen Parker. But sadly, she had to cancel. Sometimes, guys, I'm going to admit I can be intimidating. I can be a podcast host that may fit your content or your material, or it may not fit. And I get it. And if it doesn't fit, I respect it. Okay. I'm not going to hissy fit on this show. I'm not going to pout like a baby. I'm not going to throw shit across the floor and yell and scream and carry to the cows come home. I'm not that type of person. Why? Because I'm a man. I'm not a little boy. So I respect you, Miss Parker. Thank you for the email. I just want to put it out there if she is listening. So we did have to cancel her off on the 15th, so she will not be on the show on the 15th. We got some really good, exciting shows coming up, which I will make an announcement. They're a little into the week after the 11th, so we got some really good shows. Really, really good shows. Actually have an actress and an actor coming on the show. I can tell you that. And we also have two political candidates coming on the show in the middle of the month. I'm not telling you who. Hint, hint. So,
yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Mackenzie and mention to her. Now, obviously, she can cut anything and everything you say, but everything I say is way too important to be cut. Now, yes, that's a joke, people. That's a joke. You know, as serious as everything is, we got to keep a sense of humor. And in one of the reasons why I'm happy to join Savage Unfiltered and Michael today to talk about a lighter subject, movies. We can't be in the serious stuff 24/7, or we'll be curled up in a ball in a fetal position crying all the time.
Yeah. I agree, Joseph. I agree. And I think it was a tremendous idea that Joseph brought up yesterday in the show. Something that I've been even thinking about. I'm not just saying this, guys. I've been actually thinking about doing a lot of other topics other than politics. No, folks, I'm not stepping aside from politics. I said it once. I'll say it before. I sweat politics 24 hours a day. That's just who I am. I've had a huge interest in politics since I was a little boy, and I'm going to continue doing politics until I can't do politics anymore. And I hope that this show grows until I'm like 70, 80 years old, and I, hopefully my last breath, won't be
able to do video then because you'll be old, wrinkly, and gray. But yeah, you make the point. You need to take an intellectual break from politics every once in a while.
Yeah. I do, and I'm already getting gray as it is right now, Joseph. So thank you for the reminder. Yes, I need Just for Men, but I'm not going to be doing that. But guys, yeah, I'm cracking Joseph up here. But guys, I'm going to close it out here. I want to thank Joseph once again for coming on the panel. About an hour and 30 minutes, but it's really like an hour and 15 minutes because we got to cut 15 minutes of the first part of the conversation. I always talk to my guest or my panelist or, co-host like before the show. We have like a little digital green room that we create before the show, which actually too, thank you, Mackenzie, for literally like passing the notes over as I'm talking. The sound effects probably you can hear. We're actually going to be creating a blooper reel. When that's going to happen, I don't know. We're still thinking of concepts and ideas of how we're going to bring into it. I'm a person that loves intro music. Each show I have an intro music, whether it's Savage Unfiltered or my bonus shows, the Savage Brief. I love the intro music. So we're going to come up with an intro song to this. We have the name. It's going to be called Savage Blooper Reel. But I'm going to have. Yeah, Joseph.
I love that idea. That is a great idea. Again, a little bit of fun and frolic, and not only keeping a sense of humor, but being able to laugh at ourselves also.
Yeah, it's we were going to put it on the premium section of Spotify, but you know what, folks? You guys don't need to pay for it. We're going to keep it free. How's that, guys? We're going to keep it free. We're not going to charge you a dime. It's going to be part of, like I said, the digital green room that we always have, the conversations that we always have. I'm literally going to record the episode. I'm not going to edit. I'm not going to cut it. I'm just going to continue it as when we came into the episode, the recording all the way to the end. So you're going to hear conversations of if it's me, Joseph, Jimmy, Soslin. Sometimes I have PJ Agnes, which I'm trying to get back on the show. It's been a while since we've had him on. Anybody, even guests that are just coming into the show for the first time. It's going to be the actual conversation. You guys deserve to hear what goes on behind the scenes here because it's some of the funniest like crap shit that you would imagine. Some of the stuff that you hear in the conversation that Joseph had when we first started the show out today, it's really comical. But with that being said, guys, I don't want to talk your ear off, your head off here. I got to get going. I'm losing words here. I need a glass of water, probably a bottle of beer. Yes, Joseph probably needs something over there too. But guys, I'm going to get going. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to hit that like, that follow button on all major podcast platforms. Make sure you follow us on TikTok, because I'm telling you right now, we're putting out some amazing content on that platform. That being said, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
Take care and God bless.